Hello and welcome back to another Travel Risk Management Solutions forecast. My name's Tony Ridley. I'm an international consultant, speaker, author and advisor on travel risk management and health and safety for the business traveller. And I'm also the contributing editor and founder of travelriskmanagementsolutions.com. In this particular sessions, we're going to be focusing on the top 6 business travel threats for 2012. Business travel in 2012 is going to be the corporate systems themselves. Corporate systems in the virtual world, corporate systems when it comes to IT and certainly electronic access and sharing of information. One of the biggest issues is going to be that of Windows. Windows, the use of traditional business operating platforms, Windows 7, Windows 2003, Windows 2000. The reality is that increasingly this is becoming problematic for businesses for the integration of new and evolving technologies. With the travel industry rapidly laying out wikis, iPad applications, iPhone applications, and a whole host of other business enabling tools and processes, those that use Windows primarily, particularly those that are using outdated Windows systems from XP 2003 and so on, this is causing compounding systems for integration issues. Integration across all levels, integration across various platforms, whether it be mobile devices, desktops, remote accessibility from hotels. This is a continuing issue that will only get worse in 2012. The reality of this is that this also affects efficiencies, the efficiencies and ability of business travellers to be able to be productive on the road, not only from those who are overseeing that of travel management, those that are managing the risk, those that are managing the finance. It's increasingly creating redundant processes, it's not time effective, it's delaying processes, and increasingly added with the bureaucracies associated with larger and larger organisations, the inability to use updated, more efficient systems and evolving technologies, or even those technologies and software that have been around for a couple of years but they're simply not compatible with the Windows environment, is going to be all the more problematic, particularly for those that have got internally developed software. Internally developed software has become quite the white elephant for many organisations, and the reason that many of them cannot upgrade to Windows 7, Windows 8 and use a whole variety of new server updates and so on, it's not just not cost effective, but it's also problematic because of the integration problems they have internally, let alone externally. We're going to see more and more new solutions come into the market, new and evolving technologies, whether they be tablets, whether they be better and faster handphones, whether they be a variety of software, whether they be online collaboration tools, and certainly with the drive from the travel industry to compete for the individual attention of travellers rather than going through exclusively the travel managers and the corporate bookings and compliance, this is going to be far, far more problematic for everybody involved, due to largely organisations who are using Windows XP or Office 2003 and all of these grossly efficient tools that are many, many years now obsolete, let alone in the environment moving into 2012. Software in particular is going to create a huge limitation for many organisations. Their ability to innovate, their ability to buy and procure and implement new systems is going to be largely undermined or negated, whether it be through proposals or tender processes, because of these self-imposed limitations and restrictions that they have around the software and the platforms that they use. This integration alone, this is not just a hardware issue, this is also a software issue. So software integration, whether it be the harvesting of GDS information, the bookings, the emails, online chats, social media, all of these issues are going to be compounded more and more as we progress into those final years of many of these systems, particularly on the Windows, that have already outside of their support mechanism, and they're just not supported for the general public, let alone for corporates. And the overall expense associated. Many organisations are facing the reality that they've left it so long, or their organisations have gotten so big, that the overall cost of upgrading to the new version, that is that they're 3, 4, 5, 6, even 10 years in arrears, is monumental, and simply nobody wants to make that investment. Nobody, particularly the short-term middle management or the executives that only look at quarterly or 12 annually reviews, is that nobody wants to invest in this capital expenditure, and as a result it's becoming more of a problem, and this is going to hit the travel industry quite hard over the coming 12 to 18 months. And last but not least, when it comes to the corporate systems, is the evolution of social media, and in particular the access to social media. Social media provides a wealth of information for both business travelers as well as managers, as well as marketing departments and a whole host of other organisations. And by and large, many corporates have still not gotten their head around the benefits associated with social media or the information in which it can provide, particularly when it comes to the travel space. And more of their travellers will be reaching out and going to and relying on this information resources through social media. And because the corporates have such limiting systems in place, they will find ways around it. They will use their mobile phone in the workplace. They will use non-prescribed internet kiosks. They will do a whole host of other things and use tablets and laptops, personal laptops, and all sorts of things, because the corporates have failed to evolve. And this is going to further create not only their own IT security issues, but their inability to harness and leverage and benefit from many of the positive aspects of social media as they continue to ignore it or turn their back on it. And the reality is that the monitoring of social media, particularly when it comes to travel, given that as we mentioned earlier, that the larger base for travel is leisure travel and holiday travellers, not that of business. And most of the reviews and product input and comments and real live data feeds that do come from social media are going to be largely inaccessible for many corporates. Not only for the travel managers, but the travellers themselves. And as I said earlier, they're going to find ways to access it. So the monitoring ability of organisations who have blocked Facebook, who have blocked YouTube, who have blocked Twitter and Facebook and everything else, all the social media technologies and platforms, they are not going to reap the benefits associated with social media. Of course, there are negatives, as with everything else, but the reality is that there are many benefits, particularly at the speed and breadth in which social media is being adopted within the travel space. And so many are unaware of it or unable to access the process, and this is going to hinder and jeopardise many of the business travellers, and also the competitive advantage that travel represents. For corporate departments who are seeking efficiencies, they can use social media for these processes. So by and large, corporate systems represent the second largest threat for business travellers in 2012, as overburdened, outdated software systems and inabilities for corporates to evolve fast enough is going to limit both the traveller themselves as well as the corporate departments, but the travellers will increasingly find ways around it and put the organisation and themselves at risk. In this session, we're focused on the top 6 business travel threats for 2012. At a very high level, we've looked at the strategic threats and influences associated with the threats for 2012. We've looked at the travel industry and the fragmentation, offerings and oversights as a result of the ever-competing travel industry, and certainly the proliferation of one-to-one communication tools such as applications, websites and booking processes is going to create an issue for organisations. Corporate security systems themselves, those using outdated Windows systems and other old outdated Microsoft tools, the costs associated with upgrades, the software, and certainly access to social media, which is compounded as a result of these old, outdated and inefficient tools. Then the airlines themselves, with the declining service standards or the costs associated with ancillaries, routes and available options, and certainly schedules which lead to consistency disruption and further travel delays from a cost and also a safety and well-being aspect. Mobile devices, we've looked at the choice, the corporate offerings and certainly the utilizations. They're increasing. They're going to increase consistently over the course of the next 12 months and certainly into the foreseeable future, and this represents a significant challenge and threat to organizations. Social media itself, like fire, it can be a very friendly tool, but it can also be a cruel master, and many organizations are going to find themselves and their individuals grossly underprepared or inefficiently resourced as a result to support, consume, utilize and benefit from the good, bad and the ugly associated with social media. And last but not least, the travellers themselves, with new and exposed and education and knowledge representing the foundation of concern for a comprehensive travel risk management process, which its end objective is for the increase in efficiency, productivity and certainly the health and safety and well-being of its business travellers. It's a sizable investment. The Global Business Travel Association forecast that for every $1 spent on the actual travel process itself, that's consumption of flights, accommodation, and so on, between $7 and $22 is actually invested in the outcomes for the business, or is the amount of business being pursued. So it's a sizable investment in all aspects, not to mention the investment associated with the individual, and obviously the training and experience and skills and whatever business deal they may be working on at the time. So once again, that concludes this year's forecast. If there's any further questions, please feel free to contact us. Once again, and thank you for your time. Goodbye.